So I am Stephen. I'm from Leeds. I own TNG Lofts, which is a non-habitable storage loft boarding company.
So let's roll it back then to prior to us working together. What were some
Yes.
of the challenges that you personally and also your business was experiencing prior to us engaging?
So before I actually met yourself, me and my business were really fucked, as to speak. Personally, I wasn't doing great because my entire house was on fire. We were really struggling for leads, which is why I joined other programs. Obviously, then came and started resolving that issue with Nick, which is how I then met yourself as you were speaking at his mastermind. That were all just like a really bad time. Like I can't really give you any a clear answer. Then it was just a struggle. Like business was a struggle because business was struggling. And my personal life was a struggle. I didn't have any structure. I didn't really know what was going on with my business. I was extremely hesitant to take any decisions because I didn't know if I had the tools to execute at that next level to solve the issues that we had. My personal life was just plummeting. Like me personally, mentally, we were just on the floor. And then I listened to your podcast with Connor, and that replanted the seed of like, this guy knows what it's on about. And then listened to some more of your stuff, reached back out. And that's kind of how this journey started, kind of admitting to myself that I needed the help. And then knowing through your content, meeting you previously, the day that we spent together at Nick's mastermind, like being like, yeah, cool, I'm gonna go, Jack.
Were there any reservations that you had prior to engaging in help like this? Did you have any things that were in the back of your mind that maybe stopped you from reaching out earlier?
Obviously, you've got a million people out there telling you, do this, do this, do this. But if you can't action it, it doesn't mean shit. So like, I'd say like the biggest thing was just admitting to myself that I needed the help, that it was no longer just like something that you might be better if you got this. It's like, no, you need to do something about this now. And then taking action has led to everything good that's happened since then.
Nice. Yeah, and that makes total sense as well. That kind of putting down almost of the pride, because that gets in our way of seeking out what we need right now, because we almost want to just like hustle our way through it as such.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious, based on what you actually just said there, what are the things that you potentially tried prior to us working together? And why did they not give you what you believed it was that you needed at that point in time?
To use a phrase we've used on the calls before, like I did a lot of mental masturbation. Like I took a lot of things in, and you subconsciously you know what you should be doing, but if you don't have like an action plan and no accountability, it's extremely difficult. Drove myself in this big circle of like driving myself crazy that I felt like I knew what I needed to do, but felt like a bitch because I just couldn't do it. Like I had no structure and like no accountability, and like you just go in this loop, and then that loop makes you feel worse because you're like, I know what I should be doing. And then you set your expectations higher of yourself and then you don't meet them. And then that you're just doing this 24/7.
And at that point in time, with the challenges that you were experiencing, how was that affecting you as an individual? And I guess as the business, like if you reflect back on it now, and maybe that's a little bit easier now, you're not in that space to look at it. With what you know now, how was it affecting you?
Terribly, terribly. Like my cup was empty. Like it wasn't even half full. Like all I did was work. Like I want to stop checking, for example, what I were doing. You just don't feel good about anything. And then you get to the point where you're just like when is this going to be worth it? Is all this money just worth me feeling this shit? You end up in this routine of like saying, oh, I'm going to be happy when that happens. And then you don't feel any different because you're not trying to feel different. Whereas I'm like trying to feel different, and that's making a fucking massive difference in my daily. The biggest difference I've ever had, hands down.
I love it. Now let's go into like us actually working together and that time that we've worked together thus far. Has any of it been a surprise for you? And if so, what?
Yeah. So when we first had our call of like potentially onboarding, and you said that you were working with a guy and he had joined, and within 3 weeks he felt this big difference and it were like this massive change, and he's like, yeah, and you just articulated it super well that he had this like a blossom moment, and that he felt so much better now and this and that, and I was like, in my head I was like, what? And in 3 weeks he feels all this difference, like from the jump. And I was like, cap, it's gotta be shit. Lo and behold, I feel fucking completely different. So after 4 weeks, I will back it up, feel completely different. And it's not that my life's dramatically changed. It's just that my perspective on things has changed, and how I deal with my life is completely different because I've got new tools. These are just small, incremental little anchors that you can add into your day that I've just overlooked the entire time. So the fact that like the changes we've made are that small, I'm surprised they've actually changed anything, but they've changed everything. So that's probably the bit that's like surprised me. One, how quick I feel like I've turned around. And second, how big the small decision changes that we've made have been. That's like what surprised me the most.
How would you describe what it is that we do with other people? If someone was almost wanting to get an understanding as to what it is that we do, how would you describe it?
I would describe it as someone being lost and then gaining directional clarity is kind of how it feels like it's been for me. I was just going in circles with loads of other shit. And then now I'm like, I don't know where the end goal is, but I know what the next like 3 steps are. And I know that's the right direction, especially personally, knowing that you and your business and your life are all pointing in the right direction and you're not just scattered. Like mentally is like really relieving. But yeah, if I had to describe what this is and what it does and what you do, it's directional clarity is what I would say. And then giving you the tools to be able to continue in that direction.
If we're to almost like create a bit of a list as to the biggest wins that you believe you've experienced over this period of time, what would you say they are?
Biggest wins so far are definitely clarity and direction, like I've just said. You described it earlier as micro dubs, that I'm no longer like chasing the massive win and feel like all my self-worth and like happiness or contentness is on the big win. That I'm like getting like multiple micro dubs a day. That's in itself like one of the biggest wins to the effect of how I feel. One of the biggest wins is you being there and you having the same mindset and train of thought. Even you being able to reaffirm the thoughts that I've had and being like, no, that's right. And this is why. That's like massive for your mindset because you know you're not just getting lucky.
And by us doing this work, obviously a lot of those wins there are very much in relation to you, entrepreneur and the business owner. Have you noticed that this has taken a positive impact or any impact at all on the business in this period of time of you doing this work?
It's definitely made an impact on the business as well. Me working on myself has then made everything better in business. I can't give you exact metrics that like because I did X, Y happened, but me giving myself more balance, which doesn't mean I'm doing less work. It just means that I'm doing things at higher leverage. So there's definitely a correlation because personally I feel the best I have in ages right now, and also my business is in one of the best positions we've ever been in right now, and it's definitely to do with this.
By you being in this place now and reflecting on those wins, if we contrast that and compare that to how you were feeling a short couple of months ago, how does that sit and feel to reflect on that today?
To sit and reflect on the difference between then and now and how I personally feel, there's that much of a difference. It's difficult to articulate in a single word. I never felt like I deserved to feel like this because I was always measuring myself on the success of the business. But like, I feel personally elevated, which is then elevating my business rather than me pushing my business and then dragging myself back up to the same level. Whereas now I'm on the rise, simultaneously my business has taken this massive rise as well. Business has got better, I've got better, and now I'd never want to go back to feeling how I did then. Massive difference.
It's almost like previously we're in this juxtaposition where it's one or the other. It's either the case of the business grows and I suffer, or I work on myself and the business will decline and stall, and that then leaves us in this position where it feels like we're having to make such a high stakes decision, and more often or not, whether it's right or wrong, choose the business, and then we almost just permanently live in this lower state where we're sacrificing ourselves. And it sounds like now you're in a position where you've experienced that both of these things can both be elevated and both be worked on, and actually it reinforces each other to continue to elevate. It doesn't have to be a trade-off.
Yeah, it's not a trade-off whatsoever anymore. I'll probably work with yourself in self-development like this and like keep getting these strategies. Like you need to be ahead of your business. And if you're not, then it's time to do it, innit? Because you're just getting left behind. The bigger the business gets, the more pressure that mounts, the more you've got to be able to deal with that pressure. And if you are in that position I was in before now, and you've got off the ground with a business, you're doing solid 5 figures, like you're on the elevation, but you feel like shit at that time, I believed it was part of the elevation. But if you hit that next metric and it feels no different, you still feel numb, that's a you problem.
If someone was on the fence and they were considering working with us, what would you say?
Stop being on the fence and just sign up. Have the call and you'll get everything you need out of it. Because as soon as you speak to yourself and just have the conversation, one thing I will give you the most praise for here is I use a saying like a problem shared is a problem halved, which it usually is. A problem shared with yourself is a problem halved, but then you get the other half solved because you give the steps to be able to put these actions in place to solve the problem. So all the problems we had, like it's not just a problem shared and halved, it's a problem now solved. Book a call, get in, like you won't regret it. I'm living evidence of it, do you know what I mean? Like it's, dare to say, life-changing. It has been for me anyway. It's crazy what you do, to be fair, mate. You're good at what you do.
Thank you, man.
Very good at what you do.